My name is Nellie Smith. I'm 62, a retired school librarian, and I've always believed in the quiet strength of kindness. I live in Charleston, South Carolina, with my husband Royce. We've spent most of our lives building a simple, steady life, raising our son Kent, pouring our energy into his future, giving more than we ever kept for ourselves. Before we get into it, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment where you're watching from. I'm not one for drama. I like mornings with coffee and the birds, evenings with a book, and the peace that comes from knowing you did right by the people you love. But what happened to me? What happened to us? I never could have imagined it. Royce and I had just gotten back from a trip to Arizona. It was our first real vacation in years. We'd always talked about it, but kept putting it off. You know how it goes. Something always needs fixing. Someone always needs something. But this time, we said, let's go. 2 weeks of red rock canyons, sunsets you could feel in your chest, and quiet mornings in hotel robes. We laughed like we hadn't in a long time. I even caught Royce humming while brushing his teeth, something he hadn't done since Kent was little. We were relaxed, recharged, hopeful. But the moment we pulled into our driveway, that peace started to unravel. Royce got out first, stretching his back. I grabbed my purse and walked up to the front door, suitcase wheels thumping behind me. I reached for my keys, smiling like a fool, already thinking about unpacking, making tea, and telling Kent and Shayna all about the trip. I slid the key into the lock. It didn't budge. I tried again, then a third time. I frowned, wiped the key, and tried Royce's. Nothing. Royce stepped beside me, confused. Try jiggling it. It won't turn, I said, my voice tight. It's like it doesn't fit anymore. We both stared at the door. I felt a slow, cold wave start to climb up my back. I rang the doorbell. It rang through the house, loud and sharp. We waited and waited. Finally, the door cracked open. There stood Shayna, our daughter-in-law, holding Wyatt, our grandson, on her hip. She looked like we had woken her from a nap. Her hair was messy, eyes puffy, face unreadable. She didn't smile, not even a polite one. "Oh, Nellie, you're back." No welcome home. No, "How was your trip?" Just that. I tried to stay calm. "The keys aren't working. What's going on?" She yawned. "Oh yeah, the lock broke while you were gone. We had it replaced." My heart thumped. "And no one thought to tell us or give us the new keys." She shrugged, adjusting Wyatt on her hip. "I forgot." I looked at Royce. He looked back at me, eyes narrowing. Something was off, way off. She opened the door, but only enough for us to slip through, like we were guests. The house smelled different. It didn't feel like ours anymore. I walked in, slowly, suitcase still in hand. Our living room was rearranged. Our throw pillows replaced. The curtains were different. The master bedroom door was open, and I saw baby toys, foam mats, a crib. Cartoon curtains covered the windows. That was our room. "Shayna," I said quietly, "why is the nursery in our bedroom?" She set Wyatt down. He started crawling on the mats like it was just another morning. "It made more sense," she said, casually. "He's waking up a lot, and that room has better light. I moved your things to the guest room. It's fine for now, right?" I stood there frozen. That room wasn't a guest room. It was a storage room with a tiny bed. And she'd just moved us in there like we were visiting relatives. Royce's voice was sharp now. "You should have talked to us first. This is our home." Shayna didn't flinch. "Would it have changed anything? I mean, the house is going to be Kent's someday anyway. Better Wyatt gets used to it now." Her words hit me hard. We weren't even cold yet, and she was already carving up the place. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My hands were shaking. I looked at Royce. His jaw was tight, his hands balled into fists at his side. "We'll wait for Kent," he said quietly. That night, Kent came home from work, still in his button-down shirt, tie loose. Shayna greeted him like nothing was wrong, like everything was normal. We told him what happened. His response? "Come on, Mom. Don't make this into something it's not." Shayna's just trying to make things easier. It's not a big deal. Can't you and Dad be flexible for once? That's when it started to sink in. Our son, the boy we raised, the man we supported through every hard moment, was brushing us off like we were being unreasonable. I didn't say a word. I walked into that small guest room, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed. The house felt cold, smaller, like it wasn't ours anymore. I sat there and wondered, when did being helpful turn into being disposable? When did love stop meaning anything? That night, I didn't sleep. I just listened to the sound of our own house breathing, like it belonged to someone else. And I knew, this wasn't just an inconvenience. This was the start of something bigger, something I wasn't going to ignore. Not anymore. The next morning, I woke up stiff and sore. That little guest bed was nothing like the one Royce and I had in our bedroom. The mattress creaked every time I turned, and there was barely enough room for the two of us to move without bumping into each other. I stared at the ceiling and listened to the sounds of our own home. Footsteps, a baby crying, the hum of the microwave. It should have brought comfort. Instead, it felt like we were strangers in a place we built from scratch. I pulled on my robe and walked into the kitchen. Shayna was already there, in her slippers, flipping pancakes like it was just another Saturday. Wyatt sat in his high chair, banging a spoon against the tray. She didn't look up. "Mornin'," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She nodded slightly. "Coffee's fresh." I poured myself a cup. Royce came in right behind me, rubbing his eyes. We sat down at the table, but it didn't feel like ours. Even the cushions had been swapped out. I looked around slowly. Photos of Kent and Wyatt now filled every corner. None of us. Not one picture of Royce or me. "Shayna," I said, quiet but firm. "We need to talk about what happened yesterday. Changing the locks. That wasn't okay." She didn't stop flipping pancakes. "There was an issue with the door. Security guys said it needed to be replaced fast. And not telling us? Not giving us new keys?" She sighed, like I was bothering her. "It was an emergency. I had my hands full. I didn't think it was a big deal." Royce leaned forward. "But it is a big deal. This is our house." She finally turned, spatula in hand. "I was just trying to do what's best for Wyatt, that's all." That seemed to be her answer for everything. Later that day, I went to our bedroom, or what used to be our bedroom. I stood in the doorway for a long time, just looking. Everything had changed. The crib sat where our bed used to be. Wyatt's toys were scattered all over the floor. A big diaper-changing table now took up the wall where my dresser once stood. Even the curtains were different. Bright cartoon animals, instead of the soft beige ones I had picked out with Royce 20 years ago. I opened the closet. Our clothes were jammed together on a single hanging rod in the guest room. My shoes were tossed in a box. Royce's ties were wrinkled and shoved into a drawer. It looked like a hotel closet after checkout. I felt a lump rise in my throat, not from anger, but from grief. I had spent years in that room, crying over hard days, laughing at silly memories, sitting by the window with tea when I couldn't sleep. Now it was like we never existed there at all. Kent came home that evening, looking tired and distracted. I asked him to sit down so we could talk. He flopped onto the couch, loosened his tie, and rubbed his eyes. "What now, Mom?" I looked at him carefully. "Kent, we need to understand what's going on. Why is Shayna making these decisions without us? Why are we being moved into a room that's not even meant for sleeping, while our room's been taken over?" He sighed heavily. "Mom, can't you just be flexible for once? Shayna's doing her best. Wyatt's been fussy, and she's exhausted. The master bedroom helps. It's quieter, bigger. But it's not hers," I said. "It's not yours either, Kent. That house is ours. Your father and I paid for every brick. We gave you and Shayna a place to stay when you were struggling, and we've helped in every way we could." I know," he said, waving a hand. "But it's temporary. Just let her have this one. Don't make it bigger than it is." Royce stepped in. "Kent, do you even hear yourself? Temporary. We were locked out of our own home, and you think that's not a big deal. Kent looked away. I didn't know she changed the locks. I was at work. Then why didn't you say anything when we told you last night? I asked. Why didn't you stick up for us? He didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, because I didn't want to fight. I thought if we all just got through the weekend, things would settle. Settle. I felt something twist in my stomach. Our own son was more worried about avoiding conflict than standing by his parents. I walked back to the guest room and sat down on the edge of the bed again. Royce followed, but he didn't speak. We just sat there. It felt like everything we had built, every choice we made to put Kent first, was now being used against us. We had raised him to be thoughtful, to respect family, to take care of those who took care of him. And now here we were, living like guests, like burdens. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I laid there, staring at the ceiling, hearing Shayna hum a lullaby through the thin walls, watching shadows move across a room that no longer felt safe. This wasn't just about a bedroom. It was about something deeper, something we had lost without realizing it. Respect, place, voice. And I had a sinking feeling this wasn't the end of it. It was only the beginning. It was 2 days later when Ramona showed up. No call, no text, just the sound of the door opening and her loud voice calling, "You who? Anybody home?" I was in the kitchen chopping onions. Royce was out back watering the garden. What was left of it? Shayna had pulled most of my plants, saying they were too high maintenance, and she needed space for Wyatt's little outdoor splash mat. I wiped my hands and walked into the living room. Ramona was already inside, sunglasses still on, a big smile on her face like she owned the place. Her arms were full, grocery bags, toys, a new blanket for the baby. "Brought some goodies for my sweet grandson," she said, kissing the top of Wyatt's head. "Shayna, honey, where do you want me to put these?" Shayna didn't even look surprised. "Just leave them in the den. I'll sort it later." I stood there, watching this woman I barely knew breeze through my house like it was hers. She finally looked my way. "Oh, Nellie, you're here. Back from your trip, I heard." I nodded, still holding the kitchen towel. "Yes, we've been home a few days now." "Lovely. Arizona's nice, but nothing beats home, right?" She gave me a grin that didn't reach her eyes. I didn't respond, just turned to head back to the kitchen, but she followed. "I was just telling Shayna," she said, "this place is really too much for young parents. I mean, it's lovely, but so much upkeep. And for you and Royce, all these stairs, the city traffic, the noise, doesn't seem too practical at your age." I stopped, knife still in hand. "We've been managing just fine, Ramona." She waved a hand. "Oh, I'm sure. But don't you ever think about retiring somewhere quieter? Maybe downsizing, somewhere near the water? I know some lovely senior communities near Beaufort. Peaceful, no stress, lots of folks your age there." My chest tightened. "This is our home." She smiled again. That same fake sugary smile. Of course. Of course. But the way she said it made my skin crawl. Later that evening, I noticed small changes. Shayna had moved our wedding photo off the hallway shelf. In its place was a framed picture of her and Wyatt at the beach. Ramona had brought in throw pillows, new ones that didn't match anything we owned. She plopped them on the couch like she was redecorating. Even the kitchen pantry looked different. My labeled containers were shoved to the back. Snacks and boxes I didn't recognize had taken over the front shelves. I looked around and felt like I was disappearing, piece by piece. That night, Royce and I sat in the backyard. It was the only place that still felt like ours. He took a long sip of his iced tea. "They're trying to make us leave." I didn't answer right away. I had been thinking the same thing. Ramona's comments weren't casual. Shayna's changes weren't temporary. They were settling in, making themselves comfortable, claiming space we built and paid for. I keep thinking about what she said. I finally told him. About downsizing. About moving somewhere else. "Like we're just taking up space now." Royce shook his head. "After everything we've done for them." He was right. We gave Kent and Shayna everything. Helped with the down payment. Let them move in when money got tight. Covered groceries when Wyatt was born. I even gave up part of my retirement plans just to help out when Shayna needed help after her surgery. And now they acted like we were the guests, the extras. I started noticing more over the next few days. Shayna and Ramona spent hours talking in hushed tones, sometimes in the living room, sometimes on the back porch. When I walked in, they'd go quiet, change the subject, smile too wide. I found a real estate magazine on the dining table, folded open to a page that said, "How to prepare your home for sale." Shayna brushed it off. "Just browsing," she said, but I wasn't stupid. One morning, I caught Ramona in our bedroom, digging through the closet. I stood in the doorway. "What are you doing?" She jumped. "Oh, I was just looking for Wyatt's extra blankets. Shayna said they might be in here." I didn't move. "That's our room, our things." She laughed. "Relax, Nellie. It's all family." It wasn't. Something darker was brewing. This wasn't about blankets, or baby noise, or temporary arrangements. They wanted us out. Little by little, they were making it happen. They hadn't pushed yet, but the message was clear. We were being erased from our own home, and it was only a matter of time before they made the next move. It was a sunny Saturday when it all came crashing down. Royce and I had volunteered to help at the church fundraiser that morning. It gave us something to do, something that still felt normal. We packed canned goods, chatted with the ladies from Bible study, and stayed longer than we planned, just to enjoy a little peace. We grabbed a late lunch at the diner down the street. Royce even joked that he was starting to like the cornbread more than mine. I laughed. It felt good. We pulled into the driveway just after 3. That's when I noticed something strange. The front door had a black keypad now, sleek, shiny, definitely not ours. I stared at it for a second, my stomach turning. Royce tried the old key anyway. It didn't even go in. I walked to the mailbox, already feeling sick. There was a white envelope with our names on it, just Nellie and Royce, scribbled in Shayna's handwriting. Inside was a folded note. "We've decided it's time for stability in the home, for Wyatt's sake. Your things are packed and placed in storage. The key is taped under the box. Please respect our decision and do not try to enter. This house is better off in Wyatt's hands now." Shayna. I stood there frozen, reading it over and over. My hands were shaking. Royce took it from me, read it, and cursed under his breath. A rare thing for him. He marched up to the door and banged his fist against it. "Shayna, open this door. Are you out of your mind?" No answer. He hit it again, louder. "Shayna." Still nothing. I called Kent. No answer. I tried again, and again. Straight to voicemail. I sent him a message. "We're locked out. Call me now." We waited. 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. I felt like I was outside my own life, watching someone else's nightmare unfold. Royce paced the porch, mumbling. I sat on the steps and stared at the street, trying to understand how we got here. We had let them live with us rent-free. We had opened our home, our kitchen, our hearts. We'd walked the floor with Wyatt when he was teething, stayed up through Shayna's postpartum lows, picked up groceries, paid the water bill more than once, never asked for thanks, never asked for payback. Now we were on the outside, thrown out like we didn't matter. Royce finally sat beside me. "We need a place to sleep." We drove in silence to the roadside motel off the highway, the kind with buzzing lights and scratchy sheets. Royce paid for 2 nights with the emergency cash we kept in the glove box. Room 106. 2 full beds, 1 stained chair. The air smelled like bleach and stale carpet. I stood there, suitcase still in hand, and let it all hit me. I was homeless, not in the way people picture it, but in my bones. I felt it. I had no key, no space of my own, no place to sit and just breathe. The home we built was locked behind a code we didn't know, guarded by a woman who used to call me Mom. Royce sat on the edge of one bed, head in his hands. "I can't believe our own son would let this happen." I sat next to him. I don't know if he even knows, but deep down, I wasn't so sure. Kent had stopped asking how we were. He had started shrinking into the background anytime Shayna took charge. I stared at the wall, trying not to cry. We didn't deserve this. We weren't perfect parents, but we gave everything. We showed up. We paid the bills. We babysat. We smiled when we wanted to scream. We forgave more than we should have. And this was our reward. I picked up the motel phone and dialed Kent again. Straight to voicemail. I sent one more message. Your wife locked us out of our home. Our things are in storage. We're at the Sunrise Motel, off Route 12. If you don't call me by tomorrow, you'll never see me the same way again. That night, I lay on the hard mattress, fully dressed. I couldn't bring myself to crawl under the covers. Royce had drifted into a restless sleep, turning every few minutes. I watched the flicker of headlights move across the curtains and thought about all the little things I missed. My own pillow, the smell of our sheets, the way the house creaked at night. It wasn't just a house, it was our life, our memories, our years. And now it was gone. No goodbyes, no conversation, just a note in the mailbox and a new lock. I didn't sleep at all that night. I just lay there, eyes wide open, asking myself the same question over and over. How could they do this to us? The second night at the motel was worse than the first. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the phone like it might suddenly ring. It didn't. Kent still hadn't called. Not a message, not a check-in, nothing. I looked over at Royce, sleeping in that stiff motel bed, his back to me. His breathing was heavy and slow, but I knew he wasn't resting. Not really. Neither of us had, since Shayna locked us out. It's strange what the mind does in the quiet. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about everything I had done for Shayna over the years. All the things I'd given, the things I let slide, the things I didn't say. When she first married Kent, she was sweet, shy even. She brought me a candle for Mother's Day, called me Mama Nell, like she meant it. I cooked for her when she had that stomach flu and couldn't keep anything down. She'd curl up on our couch, and I'd rub her back until the nausea passed. During her pregnancy, I was the one she called when her feet swelled, when she couldn't sleep, when she had those crying spells she didn't want Kent to see. I brought her tea, crackers, ice packs. I stayed up and talked to her when she couldn't stop worrying about being a mother. After Wyatt was born, I practically lived in that house. I cleaned the kitchen, folded laundry, rocked that baby to sleep for hours. She cried a lot back then, Shayna. She said I was the only one who didn't make her feel like a failure. She called me her safe person. Funny how quick people forget. I gave up time with my own friends. I stopped volunteering. I put off the trip Royce and I had been planning for 5 years, all to make things easier for them. And now we were here. 2 bags, a motel room, no answers. Royce stirred in the bed behind me. You okay? He mumbled. I nodded, even though he couldn't see. Just thinking. He sighed. I keep hoping Kent will call. Say it was all a mistake, that he's fixing it. Me too, I said quietly. But I don't think that call's coming. The next morning, we went out for a walk just to get out of that room. The walls were starting to feel like they were closing in. We stopped by the little bakery near our old neighborhood to get coffee. That's where we ran into Teresa, our neighbor from across the street. She spotted us right away and came over, concern all over her face. Nellie, Royce, are you two okay? I haven't seen you around. I didn't even know what to say at first. I just forced a smile and said, we're fine. Just taking a little break. She didn't buy it. Teresa leaned in. I wasn't going to say anything, but I've seen a few people coming by your house. Shayna's been meeting with them. A couple of them looked like real estate agents. Suits, clipboards. One of them even took pictures of the porch. My stomach dropped. Royce straightened up. Are you sure? Teresa nodded. One of them parked in front of my place. I heard them talking about square footage. I felt like I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just about kicking us out. They were planning to sell our home. I sat down hard on the bench outside the bakery. The world felt tilted. I had seen Shayna as many things, but I never thought she'd go this far. And Kent, did he know? Was he a part of it? I looked over at Royce. His face was tight, jaw clenched. That house is still in our name, he said. She has no right. But rights didn't matter if no one was stopping her. That evening back at the motel, we sat in silence. Neither of us turned on the TV. I scrolled through old photos on my phone, pictures of Kent as a boy, Wyatt's first birthday in our backyard, Shayna smiling beside me while we cut the cake. I stared at those smiles and realized how fake they felt now. Was it all an act? Had she always been working her way in, just to take what she wanted? Or had we made it too easy? Had we handed over everything without question, too eager to help, too scared to say no? That night, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat there with a quiet kind of hurt that sinks into your bones. This wasn't just a lockout. It was a betrayal, one layered and planned. And something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to sit in that motel room another night waiting for Kent to grow a spine. If they thought they could erase us without a fight, they didn't know me at all. The morning after Teresa told us about the real estate agents, I woke up different. The heartbreak was still there, but now it was buried under something stronger. Anger, maybe. Not the kind that makes you yell and throw things, but the kind that gives you focus. I knew if we didn't act now, we were going to lose everything. After Royce went to pick up some groceries, I took a quiet moment to make a phone call I hadn't thought about in years. Alana Poole. She used to be one of my students. Smart, steady, and sharp as a tack. Back then, she was the kind of girl who finished her homework before I even passed it out. Now she was a respected attorney here in Charleston. I'd kept up with her through Christmas cards and Facebook posts, but we hadn't spoken in years. I called her office. She picked up herself. "Mrs. Smith?" she said, surprised. "Wow, it's been forever. Everything okay?" "Not exactly," I said. My voice cracked a little. "Can I come see you?" She didn't hesitate. "Of course, come by this afternoon." I met her in a modest office off Meeting Street. No fancy walls or marble floors, just a neat desk and warm smile that made me feel like I wasn't going crazy. She offered me tea, and I told her everything, from the changed locks to the note in the mailbox, from the motel room to Teresa's warning. Alana didn't interrupt. She took notes and nodded, but her face changed the moment I mentioned the talk of selling the house. "That's serious," she said. "If the deed's in your name, and it still is, right?" "Mine and Royce's," I said. "We never signed it over." "Then any attempt to sell that house without your permission is not just shady, it's illegal." My throat tightened. "What can we do?" "Get proof," she said. "The more solid, the better." That's when it hit me. I had forgotten all about the nanny cam. Back when Shayna was pregnant, we set up a small camera in the living room. Nothing fancy, just one of those little ones hidden inside a fake plant on the bookshelf. It was for safety, in case anything happened while she was home alone. I pulled out my old phone from the bottom of my purse and prayed it still turned on. It did slowly. I found the app, logged in. To my shock, the camera still worked. Alana leaned over to look. "Is it recording?" "Always has been," I said. "It stores everything for 30 days. She grinned. "Then let's get to work." For the next 3 days, I didn't leave the motel unless I had to. Royce brought meals while I sat with that phone in my lap, watching hours of footage. Most of it was boring. Wyatt playing, Shayna scrolling on her phone, Ramona bossing her around. But then came the gold. On day 2, I caught Shayna pacing the living room, phone to her ear. "Yes, I told the agent we're ready." "No, they have no idea. My name's not on anything, but that's not a problem, right? I mean, they're old. We'll figure something out." She paused, listening. "Yeah, if we say Mom got sick or Dad fell, medical bills, you know, people will believe it. Kent doesn't need to know the details." I pressed pause. My hands were shaking. I kept watching. Later that evening, Ramona came over. She set her purse down and sat beside Shayna on the couch. "So, the agent's good with the listing?" Ramona asked. Shayna nodded. "He says we could get $650, maybe more if we paint the kitchen." "And Kent?" Still clueless, Shayna smirked. "I told him we're just looking for something smaller for us. He won't ask questions." Ramona laughed. "Poor boy, You've got him wrapped." They sipped tea while discussing fake medical paperwork, emergency expenses, and how relieved Kent would be once the house was gone. I felt sick, not just from the lies, but from how casual they were, like planning a dinner party, not betraying someone who had opened their home and heart to them. I sent the footage to Alana. She called within an hour. "This is more than enough," she said. "You have clear evidence of intent to defraud. If we need to, we can go to court." I stared at the phone, heart racing. "But first," she said, "I'll draft a cease and desist letter. It'll stop any sale dead in its tracks." "Do we tell Kent?" I asked. "Not yet," she said. "Let him come to it on his own. We're not playing their game, we're ending it." That night, Royce and I sat in the motel room with the lights low. I showed him the videos. He didn't say a word the entire time. When they ended, he looked at me. "They're going to regret this." I nodded. "Yes, they will." I didn't feel like a victim anymore. They tried to erase us, but they forgot one thing. We were still here, still standing, and we were about to take everything back. It all came to a head the following Saturday. The real estate agent Shayna had been working with, whether he knew it or not, had scheduled a private showing for a couple from out of town. Teresa, our neighbor, had overheard enough to get me the date and time. 2:30 sharp. I wasn't going to let it happen, not without standing in front of it myself. Alana helped us get everything in place. She had the paperwork ready, legal language that stopped everything in its tracks. Royce printed copies of the deed. I made sure the video clip from the nanny cam was loaded and ready to play, loud and clear. We didn't tell Kent, not yet. I wanted him to see it all with his own eyes. No more hiding behind Shayna's sweet voice or Ramona's fake charm. If he was still his father's son, my son, he needed to know the truth. At 2:15, Royce and I pulled up in front of the house. We didn't go in. We stood quietly near the flower beds that I once planted myself, back when the house still felt like home. Teresa and two other neighbors, Linda Sue. "Excuse me," I said, loud enough for the couple to hear. "Before you go any further, there's something you should know." The couple stopped. Shayna froze, like she'd seen a ghost. Ramona's hand shot out, gripping Shayna's arm like a reflex. The woman looked at me, polite but puzzled. "And you are?" I took one step closer and spoke clearly. "My name is Nellie Smith. I am the legal owner of this house, along with my husband. We are not selling. This property is not up for sale, and anyone trying to tell you otherwise is lying." The man frowned. "You own this house?" I pulled the deed from my bag and held it up. "My name, my husband's, no one else's." Shayna tried to speak, but nothing came out. Ramona stepped in, smoothing her voice. "There must be some confusion." "There's no confusion," I cut in. "What you've been doing is fraud, and I have proof." I turned to Alana, who stepped forward and opened her laptop. With one tap, the sound of Shayna's voice filled the quiet neighborhood. "The agent says we could get $650, maybe more if we paint the kitchen. He doesn't need to know. We'll just say it was for medical bills or something. Once they're out, we'll handle the sale." Every word played clearly. The couple stood frozen. Then came Ramona's voice, confident, smug. "Poor boy, you've got him wrapped. Just keep him out of it until the money comes through. They'll believe anything if you say it soft enough." The woman's hand went to her mouth. The man turned to Shayna. "Is this true?" Shayna shook her head wildly. It's out of context. That's not what." "Don't," I said sharply. "You've said enough." Right then, I saw Kent's car pull into the driveway. He got out, confused, looking from the crowd to Shayna, to me. "What's going on?" Shayna ran to him like she always did. "Kent, your mom is making a scene. She's scaring away the buyers." He turned to me. "Mom?" I didn't say a word. I just looked at Alana, who hit play again. "He's still clueless. Tell him they fell behind on bills, medical stuff. He won't ask questions. It'll be too late by the time he knows the truth." Kent's face went pale. Slowly, like the ground had shifted under him, he looked at Shayna. You lied to me?" she stammered, reaching for his arm. Kent, listen. But he pulled away. You locked them out. You tried to sell the house? Her voice cracked. I was trying to help us. Wyatt needs space. Your mom, she never lets me. Kent's face turned cold. Don't you dare blame her. Ramona stepped forward. Enough of this. We're family. This doesn't need to be public. I turned to her. You made it public the moment you brought strangers into our home. The couple stepped back. We're not interested, the man said, shaking his head. We don't want any part of this. They walked off without another word. The neighbors started whispering. Murmurs turned into gasps. Then silence. Kent stood there, watching it all fall apart. Finally, he looked at me. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I looked him in the eye. Because I wanted you to see it for yourself. Shayna was crying now, mascara running. Ramona was speechless for once. But I didn't feel sorry for either of them. They had played their game, smiled through their lies, tried to erase us. And now? Now the truth was standing in the sunlight, and there was no place left to hide. That night, for the first time in weeks, we stepped back inside our home. Not as guests, not as intruders, but as the rightful owners. The air was heavy, quiet. You could feel the tension still clinging to the walls. Shayna sat stiffly on the edge of the living room couch, hands twisted in her lap. Her face was blotchy from crying. Ramona stood in the corner, arms crossed, silent but fuming. Kent hovered near the hallway, not looking at anyone. Royce stood beside me, his arms folded, face hard. I hadn't seen that look in a long time, not since his brother tried to cheat him out of his inheritance back in the day. It was the face he wore when he was done being nice. I walked to the middle of the room and stood tall. We're going to have a conversation, I said, calm but firm. And it's going to happen on my terms. Shayna opened her mouth, but I raised my hand. No interruptions, not this time. She closed her lips and nodded. I turned to Kent. You're our son. We love you. That hasn't changed. But this house? It's ours, not yours, not Shayna's, not Ramona's. Royce and I built this life, brick by brick, year after year. And you let someone else steal it from us, while you stood by and watched. He dropped his head, ashamed. I turned back to Shayna. What you did isn't just disrespectful, it's illegal. And if it weren't for Wyatt, I wouldn't be standing here trying to fix this. I'd be pressing charges. Shayna's eyes welled up again. Nellie, I'm sorry. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. Things felt tight, and I panicked. I just wanted a home for my family. You had one, I snapped. You had one. We gave it to you freely. We opened our doors, our wallets, and our hearts. And you decided it wasn't enough. You wanted it all. She started sobbing, covering her face. I'll do better, she said, between sniffles. I swear I'll fix it. I'll never lie again. Please, I'll apologize to everyone. I was just desperate. I took a deep breath. My voice stayed steady. Desperation doesn't excuse betrayal. Alana stepped forward and handed Shayna an envelope. This is a formal cease and desist, she said. Any attempt to sell, lease, or alter the property going forward will result in immediate legal action. That includes communication with real estate agents. Everything stops now. Ramona rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. I turned my gaze to her. You are no longer welcome in this house. Not now, not ever. If you step foot on this property again, I'll call the police. Ramona opened her mouth to argue, but Kent spoke before she could. Mom, he said quietly, you need to go. That caught her off guard. What? You heard me. Leave. Ramona looked between all of us like we were speaking a different language. Then she huffed, grabbed her purse, and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence she left behind was thick. I sat down across from Shayna. This isn't just about the house. This is about trust. And right now, I don't have an ounce of it left for you. She nodded through her tears. I understand. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to find another place to live. I don't care if it's a rental or your mother's house, but you're moving out within 30 days. Shayna's face crumpled. What about Kent? About Wyatt? That's between you and Kent, I said. Royce and I are done raising other people's families. We're reclaiming our lives. I looked at my son. And Kent, you have a choice. You can continue pretending this wasn't your fault, or you can take some responsibility and start fresh. But don't expect me to carry your silence anymore. That weight's yours now. Kent didn't argue. He just nodded, slowly. You're right, he said. I was weak. I didn't want to fight. I wanted peace more than truth. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Dad. Royce walked over and put a hand on his shoulder. You're still our son, but you're a grown man now. Act like it. That night, after they left the room, and Royce and I sat alone in the kitchen, I poured us both a cup of tea. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. We had survived the storm, not with screaming, not with violence, with truth, with boundaries. I looked around the house. It still felt different, like it had seen too much to ever be exactly the same. But it was ours again. That mattered more than anything. I reached across the table and took Royce's hand. We're going to be okay, I said. He squeezed it gently. Better than okay. And for the first time in a long while, I believed it. The next morning, I opened the door to our master bedroom. And for a moment, I just stood there. It had been weeks since I'd last seen it empty. No crib, no toys, no cartoon curtains or pastel blankets, just sunlight pouring through the windows, and that quiet, familiar stillness. Royce walked in behind me, carrying a box with our sheets and pillows. He didn't say much. He just placed it on the bed and gave me a look, one that said, "We made it. We didn't rush. We took our time putting things back in place, folded our clothes into the drawers, hung our wedding photo on the wall. I brought out my old quilt, the one my mother gave me before she passed, and laid it neatly across the bed. I smoothed it with my hand, feeling like a part of myself had come home. Royce planted some fresh begonias outside later that afternoon, said he wanted the front porch to look like it used to. I sat on the steps with a glass of sweet tea, watching him hum as he dug into the dirt. He looked younger than he had in weeks. We were quiet, but it was a good quiet, the kind that doesn't need filling. Shayna and Wyatt moved out 2 weeks later. Kent helped them pack, but he stayed distant. I could tell the weight of it all had finally landed on him. Every box he carried seemed heavier than the last, not just because of what was inside, but because of everything he hadn't said soon enough. He came by alone the day after they left. He stood in the living room, rubbing the back of his neck. I know I've messed up, he said. I don't even know where to start. I let him talk. I didn't interrupt. I just wanted to keep the peace, he said. But I see now that peace without truth isn't peace at all. It's silence, and silence let this happen. I nodded. It did. He looked up at me, eyes red. I'm sorry, Mom. I really am. I know, I said quietly. But sorry isn't the end. It's the beginning. What you do next is what matters. He's been trying since then. Slowly, thoughtfully. He comes by on weekends, sometimes just to sit, sometimes to help Royce in the yard. The trust isn't fully repaired, but the door isn't closed either. As for me, I've been finding my footing again. I joined a women's circle at the church. We meet every Thursday to talk about life, aging, loss, and starting over. I didn't think I'd have much to share at first, but once I opened my mouth, the words just spilled out. Turns out, I'm not the only one who's been pushed aside by the very people they raised. We laugh, we cry, we listen. And in that little room filled with folding chairs and honest hearts, I started feeling like myself again. I even started gardening again. Royce built me a new box for herbs and tomatoes. My hands are back in the dirt, and it feels like therapy, one seed at a time. The house is still quiet, but it's no longer heavy. It's peaceful. There's no more whispering behind closed doors, no more walking on eggshells. The floors creak, the windows stick a little, and the kitchen faucet still drips at night. But it's home again, and this time, we're not giving it away. I've learned that love doesn't mean giving until you're empty. It doesn't mean saying yes just to keep the peace. It means standing firm in who you are, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Some people will call that selfish. Let them. Because the truth is, if you don't protect your own space, your own peace, someone else will walk in and claim it like it was always theirs. I'm not bitter, I'm just awake now, awake to my worth, awake to the cost of silence, awake to the power of saying, no more. So yes, we've rebuilt, not just the home, but our hearts, our rhythm, our dignity. And if you're sitting there right now, watching this, thinking, this sounds a little too familiar, I want you to know, you're not alone, you're not crazy, you're not wrong for drawing a line, you're not bad for wanting to feel safe in your own space. You have a right to peace, a right to be heard, a right to take back what's yours. Have you ever been taken for granted by someone you sacrificed everything for? What would you do if your own child stood by while someone else stole your peace? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading. I want to hear your story, because your voice, your boundaries, and your truth matter. And if this story moved you in any way, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You never know who else needs to hear this today. Thank you for listening.